Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa, and today is the 4th of November. So tomorrow's remember the 5th of November. So don't forget that. We've got some crazy weather going on. I hope I'm going to be able to keep streaming. They're saying tornadoes and snow tonight, but it was 74 this morning here. So really not sure what Harp's got up their sleeve. It's been an incredible day. I had an interview with Jim Willie this morning on my Patreon channel, almost 2 hours long. Definitely some great information there. You guys should go check that out. There's a link in the description to join that. And today on Happy Hour, our good friend, the scientist Ken Schwartz from Purple Power C60 is here. Oh, I don't know if you guys can hear all that lightning. Anyway. We'll get started. It's going to be an exciting day. So make sure you've got something read for everyone deployed. It's Friday. Grab a drink, give us a like, share this video. See you in a minute. Happy Friday. Welcome to the show, Ken. Good to see you. Cheers. I didn't warn you.
I can catch up.
I brought him to our most rambunctious show of the week and was like, oh no, it'll be great. Happy hour. It'll be fun. Hey, Westwood, what's up? What's in your red Solo cup?
Some straight Tennessee whiskey. Well, on ice.
Okay.
Yeah, no mixer. No mixer today.
You're going hard right at it.
I'm celebrating the Litecoin pump, you know.
Oh, we'll get into the Litecoin pump.
Yeah, we'll do that later.
Oh.
Yeah. Are you excited about Litecoin, Ken?
I have some Litecoin. I didn't know there was a pump, so
it's pumping.
Check your wallet. Yeah. It's pretty exciting stuff. There's a lot going on. You know, I don't know if it's all MoneyGram. I guess it's MoneyGram and the Halvening. I don't know. I'll let you rant on it later, Westwood. Yes. I want to start off Uncle Cliff's video today, the Shadowlands. If you guys are watching, following him on Substack or BitChute, he had one out on the Shadowlands. It's pretty exciting, and it really coincides with what Jim Willie was saying this morning. Like, we are in it. The time is now. There is going to be, or is now starting to be, a flood of information. But there will be this peak of emotion. And the peak is like the highest roller coaster you've ever seen. Like, it's an insane peak of emotion, and quickly back down again, but then continued information coming out for a very long time. So check out that video. In that video, he's talking about Kenneth Schwartz C60 new gummies. And I was really excited about this because I tried to get my 12-year-old to take C60, and he doesn't like the consistency of the oil. You know, I can get him to do it, but it's the flavored. When you guys moved to the flavored oils, that helped tremendously. We really like the cinnamon oil at our house. My husband loves the cinnamon C60. But so tell us a little bit about like the motivation for going to the gummies and what your thoughts are on all that.
Well, we had, the different oils. We have it in like olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, and for different things, MCT coconut oil in particular. This is like, we also had packets, but
cool.
They're kind of, a lot of people use this for paleo coffee in the morning. It's MCT, but we really didn't have other easier ways because it was still an oil. So we came up with gummies. It took like 2 years to actually develop this. The gummy, wasn't easy to put that much, and we're actually using whole coconut oil in it, so it has a whole daily servings. And this is a little box. It's red. It's tart cherry, and but we have a little thing to see. It actually opens up, and you can you got like a little serving.
Very cool.
Yeah. People had that, and The only problem about these gummies is it's really hard just to eat one.
Ooh.
That's we'll have to send some out to you so you can try it out.
Yeah, I would love that. I know. I remember when Uncle Cliff was starting on C60, and so if a little is good for you, a lot must be better. And he warned everybody what happens when you have too much.
Yeah, it kind of keeps you up. It gets everything, your mind racing,
and your gut.
Yeah, and your gut. Well, and for him, if you got MCT oil, you got to be careful on that one.
Oh,
that's one of the things, because we use whole coconut oil in this one. We've had people eat 10 gummies. 10 gummies. Now, I'm telling you, do not eat 10 gummies. That's not. It will get you a little bit. You might not sleep so well at night because it's kind of exciting. It gets you going, like a little bit like caffeine. So we always say take it in the morning, but they were fine after 10 gummies. So it's easily digestible in the gummy form, and it's kind of sweet too. It has 3 grams of sugar, so we kind of minimized it for the gummy thing. But it's if your kids, the kids definitely like taking it. It's almost sometimes it's a little too good tasting.
Yes.
So
it reminds me of those. There were vitamins when I was a kid. Flintstone vitamins.
The chalky Flintstone vitamins.
Oh, they were so delicious because my mother never let us have sugar, so that was like the closest thing to like a candy or a sweet. Yeah. So now we have C60 gummies for everybody, and the MCT does have like an energy boost in it for you. I'm not sure the science of that, but it's something about the structure of the amino acids. Is that it? That it gives you kind of energy boost?
Yeah, carbon 60. It's a little carbon atom shaped, 60 carbon atom shaped like a little soccer ball. And I could go over the science and all that, but basically what it is, it's an SOD catalase mimic, and that's superoxide dismutase. And when it's actively uptaken into your cells and then into your mitochondria, and your mitochondria have basically 4 antioxidants that are really important to the whole functioning of it. And the two key ones are SOD and catalase. And they take care of a oxidative radical called superoxide. It's an oxygen with an extra electron. Because oxidative radicals are basically your body rusting. So you can imagine an oxygen with an extra electron, that makes things rust. And so, as we get older, SOD and catalase levels go down. And so you can't really deal with the superoxide ions. So your mitochondria have to tune down. Well, you take C60, now it's an SOD mimic, catalase mimic, so it can take care of superoxide. And so your mitochondria turn back on, and then they make ATP, the energy molecule for the cells. Like 95% of your energy comes from ATP. And they also make things like pregnenolone, which is the precursor molecule for like all the hormones. So, increases, and you get better sleep, more energy, increased libido, things like that come with that.
All the good stuff of your body healing itself and
getting rid of those. Yeah, because of the big 4 antioxidants that your cells really need. There's CoQ10, and you can supplement for that. You can buy that at your health food store, and you probably should supplement, especially if you got some gray hair. You probably need some CoQ10 supplementation. And then there's glutathione. Now, glutathione was a really hard time to get in, but now they have some good liposomal glutathiones, like Quicksilver has some, and other people are producing them. So you get a little bit of glutathione, but there's nothing for SOD or catalase until C60 came along. And so with the whole thing, now you can supplement for basically all your core antioxidants, because most like vitamin E, vitamin C, they can't get into your mitochondria, but C60 is actively uptaken. So once your mitochondria get back up and running, you'll notice it for sure.
That's awesome. I know my mom kept her little dog alive. She was, I think, 18, almost 19 years old before she passed away with, kidney issues. And she was giving her C60, and it was enough to keep her body cleansed, to do the job that her kidneys were no longer doing for her, to get all of those free radicals out of her body. And pretty amazing. So you have PET C60, kids gummy C60.
Oh, yeah, pet C60, and in our bottles we have different sizes. Oops, that's green screen. It doesn't work with green screen, the green color of avocado, but purple coconut does. And we call it Purple Power. C60 Purple Power is the brand name. It's now Shop C60. I don't know if you can actually see that. Maybe in outer space. You can.
Yeah.
There you go.
There against your face.
C60 dissolved in like clear coconut oil. turns it a purple color. So that's why we kind of called it C60, because C60 is purple colored. So that's why we called it C60 purple power.
Okay, so that's a natural reaction of it does when you guys put it or infuse it into the oil.
It turns the clear stuff purple, and things like avocado and olive oil, they're kind of tan, so it turns them a dark amber color. So you can actually just see the purity of your C60 by looking at the color of your oil.
Very good.
Or the gummy, but the gummy's just purple naturally because it's tart cherry.
Oh, that's right, the tart cherry in it.
It's really good, yeah. So,
which helps with the flavor too. One of the other things, Mom shared a video that we found on the C60 YouTube channel. You guys have a YouTube channel. You put out some really great information, a lot of education, and things that you would not typically expect to have results from taking something orally. Well, I guess in big pharma world, they tell you it'll fix your brain all the time. But it was talking about the physical effects of trauma, and people, are going through a lot right now. The world is kind of definitely upside down. So I shouldn't even say kind of. And I think people are feeling those effects physically as well. And we're going into winter. So that can be, some people struggle with seasonal depressions, things like that. The C60 can help get rid of those zombie cells from trauma that your body's accumulating that can have negative effects on your body. And that seems to be really helpful and positive. What was the doctor's name? I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Pigian. Okay. Dr. Amy Pigian, and she has a trauma. She helps people work through trauma because there's a lot of it's kind of stored in your body. And so there's a whole process, you need good nutrition and like support. And then there's processes by which then you can release the trauma.
So this is where I recently met Dr. McDaniel. I want to get the two of you off camera to talk, but he has a product that is based in aloe vera, and there's some studies. I'll send you the information. But when you're saying good nutrition, like the partnership of, and that's what I'm thinking, that I'm seeing such good benefits and so quickly with my skin, my back, all this stuff. I'm using both of them. So I've been taking C60 for a long time, and I had a lot of results from that. I think with my trauma being released from my body and helping with different issues. Definitely my body healing itself with I had disc issues in my back, and over the years it's gotten better, not worse. And I think that a C60 has been a big part of that journey. And then I met Dr. McDaniel with this New Eden product, and you just mentioned nutrition being a part of that. And so the synergy, I think, of these two products working together would just be exponential. And a lot of the things you guys talk about, you both talk about a lot of the same things, the telomeres and how the body heals itself. And it's pretty amazing. I think you would have a lot in common. So I'll get the two of you together off camera sometime. But so with C60 and the like, you chose to add the cherry tart, what kind of decision making do you guys go into on how you choose your products, or what direction you go with the C60?
Well, it's all organic. Everything is all organic. So that's what we want to make sure of. And then we just kind of work on it. The tart cherry, we did taste testing. We had a bunch of different flavors, and then we passed them around, and people tested them, and they decided the vote was pretty much unanimous. The tart cherry was the best. So we went with that.
Sounds good. Well, I'm excited to try those. I think that's pretty cool.
We'll definitely have to get some sent out to you.
Yeah. So what is the latest thing I always want to ask you, because I know we talk about C60 and that's improved so many people's life, but you are a scientist at heart and professionally, and you have your finger on the pulse of what's going on and patents and all these kind of things. What are you seeing, or can you talk about what are you seeing coming up? Yeah, what's coming up in the science world?
Are we on which platforms are we on right now?
You know who tube.
Oh, okay. We'll just be careful what we say.
The dance party, the one that you
AI is
dance
always
around while you talk. Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh no, things are, yeah. Well, you can obviously, anybody that's watching politics can see, or anything international stuff. It's just getting pretty crazy out there.
Yeah, the thing with Brazil, they just had
yeah.
their recent vote, and the people have spoken up and are trying to engage their military.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. And that's just, everything's just happening all at once now. And then we're going to have our elections here in a few days. And
Yes.
we know there'll be a lot of, what happened before going on, but
Yeah.
thousands, tens of thousands of eyes are watching.
That's what I think the difference is going to be this time. I'm curious if you think, or what you think is going to be different this time that wasn't the same last time, because the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing and expect a different outcome. So as far as I know, as far as the system has not changed, will the people's reaction change and that be the catalyst for the new world?
Well, I mean, this time first off, everybody's watching the ballot stuffing boxes, and so that's being watched by multiple people. Then this time they can't lock people out, because usually they have to have observers watching the vote count. They can't get that away, and then they're doing way much more electronic monitoring. So it's going to be much harder to steal. Of course, they're going to be fraud, but it's going to be much harder this time. And if they do it like they did before, it's going to be so much more exposed. So it'll just create more outlets.
And then it would just
a lot of certain states, the red states generally don't have any of that fraud, but some of the some of the super blue states, they probably don't need it. But the in-between states, the swing states, that's where most of that is. And if they push it this time, they could easily, it'll just cause outrage, because people will see it. It's just and at a certain point, if they can destroy. Once you lose faith in the system, it doesn't come back, and you can either have ballots or bullets, basically. And so the next election could be something like not with ballots, let's say,
but with people watching who, I'm
going to chime in on that. I think, you look at the election coming up in a few days, and no matter what side wins, the other side's going to accuse the other side of cheating, I think. And so I think we might be at that point, Ken, or at least the real leading edge of it, to where, faith has been lost, because you'll have people that say, you know what? And I see it, I get comments and people will say, I don't know if I should vote or not, because I don't think it's going to matter. It's rigged anyway. And I mean, a lot of people already feel that way. So let's say we have a red wave, and it actually happens. The other side's going to be, they're not going to want to leave. They're going to want to, they've already got a little semblance of power there. They'll open up more investigations and try and, I think either way it goes. And then if the blue side wins, people are going to say, really? I don't know, man, with everything going on in the world and how things have gone the last 2 years, how could that have happened again? And so I don't know that you're going to get any kind of resolution no matter what happens on Tuesday, which I think is kind of good, because I talked about earlier this week to where I went into the voting booth. I voted early, and I looked at the ballot, and I don't like the governor we have here in Illinois. He locked down schools and all this stuff. And prickster. And so I looked at the Republican candidate, and I really, there's certain things I don't like about him either. And I looked at the ballot and I said, you know what? I said to myself, I'm just voting for the lesser of two evils here. And I don't like being in that position. So I just voted straight libertarian, which is what I always used to do, because I'm like, I'm not going to support either side, because it doesn't matter. They're going to feed that system. They're going to continue to perpetuate the madness that got us where we're at. And so it's like, I almost, I'm like, I'm done. I'm just out. I'm not going to do it.
So was that your way to opt out, by still, still participating?
Yeah, and you should participate. Our vote should count. And I have a lot of lack of faith. And I went in there, and they had to verify my identity because the address was wrong, this and that. I went through this, and I talked to the lady, and as I was talking to her and she's going through that procedure, I'm like, okay, if I were a scammer, how could I not vote here and then vote at this other place, in a different precinct? And how are you tracking that? So I kind of talked to her a little bit. But the lady who's right at the front, she's got a laptop sitting there, and that's how she looks things up and looks up records and this and that. I look at the laptop, and on the right side of it, there's a sticker, a label. It says username, password, right there on the laptop. And I'm just like, is that not like the symbolic, of what's wrong with our elections? There's no security in some of this stuff sometimes. And it's just, coming from crypto and coming from the IT world, I'm like, you would never do that. You just don't put your username and password out there to where anybody can see it. And I looked right over and I could see what it was. And if you have the laptop, it didn't matter. It's right on there. But it's just this, it's like it's a big show. It's a big fraud. And it's just a big theater. It's an illusion. That's all this is. And until we opt out of it and say, we got to start doing something new. We've got to start kind of taking our energy away from that system in some way. It's not going to change. Keep doing the same thing, like you said. It's insanity. Hey, I'm going to vote red this time. I'm going to vote blue this time. And nothing changes, though. The money's broken. They print more money. They keep funding, malinvesting it. They keep funding operations. And it's just, until we realize that and step back and start disconnecting from that and giving our energy to something positive that can benefit humanity, then it's not going to change. So anyway, that's my little rant. I'll shut up now.
Well, so on that statement, though, we have to have something to choose.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been saying this last week, the same kind of theme keeps coming up. When the opportunity shows itself, or when the opportunity comes up, the tool will show itself, or the tool has use only when it's needed, or something like that. I don't know. I'm terrible at quoting things. But I feel like these new, like, alternative healing, people losing faith in a lot of systems. And so they're looking to new systems. And so things like C60 and alternative healing and more natural things that we were taught, that doesn't have, the white coat stamp of approval on it. Well, now when you distrust the white coat stamp of approval, you look for something else. So do we have those other things built to choose something else at this point? And/or are they needed to lead our country?
Well, I think the local community is where you go. Like, for instance, your local sheriff. That's a really important. You want a constitutional sheriff in your area if you have that option, if they allow that. But that's what you probably want. So going local, your school boards, your mayor, your local stuff, that's where it's really going to be. And even, like, for instance, and probably, the Republicans will take the House and probably the Senate. But the problem is that nothing's going to happen because you need the presidential signature and you need 2/3 to override it. So they're not going to get 2/3. So basically, in the next 2 years, a lot of blank is going to hit the wall, so to speak. And they're not going to have a political system which is able to do anything to fix that. So come 2 years from now in 2024, that's going to be, if depending on how chaotic, it'll be massively chaotic there. And also you have to think about once people get to Washington, like, remember AOC, right? She was a waitress, right? Yeah, she had a master's, but she was working as a waitress. She comes there now after 2 terms, they have to file their wealth. Now she has a personal net wealth of $25 million.
What?
Yeah.
That's a lot of tips.
In Congress, yeah. And then, but that's not just one side. Look at Liz Cheney, right? Daddy's pretty rich, Dickie's pretty rich. So she started out with $7 million.
She's in the club.
She get reelected this time, but after her 2 terms, she now has a personal fortune of $44 million. Wow. So, what is that? That's basically blatant bribery.
And why aren't the people allowed to ask, where did that come from? Show us.
Yeah, exactly. On a Congress. But look at the Pelosi's. They have like over $300 million, almost $400 million. We don't really know. And yeah, you get our government is bought and paid for, and that's just simply the way it is. And actually, most people don't know, like the Greek democracies that they always talk about democracies. In the Greek democracies, they knew this would be a problem. So actually, they didn't have elections in Greek democracies. It was actually chosen by lottery. Everybody put their little rock with their name on it in a bowl, and then the kid came up and pulled it out, and that was, your president.
But it was shorter terms, right?
Yes,
so
exactly.
you knew.
Yeah, because it was just they put the rocks in the bowl, and the guy didn't pull them out. The only time the Greeks would ever vote for a leader was if they went to war. They wouldn't pick a leader chosen by lottery, obviously. So that's that. And actually, the first democracies in the Americas were actually probably the pirate ships. because on pirate ships, the crew would get together and they would actually vote to see who would be the captain. Because, the one most, and it's not the guy with the biggest sword fighting. You want the best captain, the one who can navigate well. He's not going to run you up on a reef, and the one best likely to find a ship worth doing it. So that was actually the first democracies in the United States, in the Americas, were probably the pirate ships. And of course, that's what they went out and did. So, maybe if you're in a democracy and people are being elected by voting, you might be in like a war economy. Like the United States. The United States has been at war 92% of its history. So
yes, that's incredibly insane. I was looking into the history of the flag and learning that our flag is in a stance of war. That's all we've known at most of our lives, is that it's actually a flag of war until it's turned down in a certain way, and then it's a flag of peace. So in that same train of thought with the democracies being the first, there are also on this land and many other, there were groups of individuals who chose to govern the community in different ways of I'm thinking about the tribes, where a lot of times it was a council of elders with, I don't know if it was always one person in charge. Could you see it going to something more like that, like in the local communities, and then being a council of elders that people look to, that council locally?
Oh yeah, I think that's probably, a lot of things are going to go local here. I don't know if people listen to the various pundits talking about the economic situation, but we're really in a crisis, a debt crisis. And and I could mention some people's names. Mariano is one, but to talk about that. So, we could have a debt blowout. This market isn't going to make it. The debt market isn't going to make it in another 2 years. It's just, how long is it going to make it? Because it's just it's a giant bubble of everything. Everything is pumped up. It's a super bubble. The bubble of bubbles, the real estate, we're already starting to see real estate deflate. And the market is sitting going up and down, and the debt market is doing that. When you see that, you're in trouble. And at some point, it will come apart. And at that point, we don't know what's going to happen. There could be Uncle Cliff talks about it. There could definitely be a point at which those pieces of plastic don't work. Now, the government already has done some testing on this. They did, and I don't know if people knew, a couple years ago in Philadelphia, all of those electronic welfare cards stopped working.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But only in Philadelphia. In no other city did they not stop working. And which is, it's a glitch. It's a glitch. No, it wasn't a glitch. It was a test. And they went for about 2.5 weeks, and that's when the people started rioting. And then all of a sudden, the cards magically came back on, and everybody had all this money, so they went out and it stopped it, right? So that was just a beta test to see what would happen if the system locked up. If your plastic doesn't work, how long will it be before people become, shall we say, ungovernable?
Really?
About 2.5 weeks. So we could easily have, because there is such a huge debt bubble, and it goes into the derivatives. There's quadrillions of dollars in derivatives, and that's what they've been bailing out the Swiss National Bank for, because they basically, they have derivatives contracts on oil and natural gas and stuff, and the winners haven't been able to pay the losers, so they're going to have to loan the losers money so that they can pay the winners, so that the whole system doesn't lock up. And that's what's basically going on, which of course just creates more debt, which causes more inflation, which causes a higher yield in the 10-year yield in the debt market. And so it's just at some point, and they're in the catch-22 situation. And so, because every time they pump it, it causes more inflation, which pushes up the yield on the debt, but they got to drive the yield back down on the debt so the markets don't collapse. But then when they do that and pump the markets too, that creates more inflation. And so it's just they're in a doom spiral. It's kind of like when you flush the handle, it's swirling, just about to disappear. That's where the situation is kind of.
Yeah, my interview with Jim Willie this morning, he was talking about just what you're talking about, and talking about JP Morgan is actually shorting the silver, getting rid of their derivatives as fast as they can to knock the silver price down. And in spite of that, we're seeing the silver price go up. But that's because there's just such a shortage. They're also taking physical delivery of silver at the same time. So they are trying to get theirs as fast as they can. So because they know this is coming quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people. Well, I think what's going to happen when the markets go and there's debt problems, what money is going to flow into commodities, real physical goods and assets.
Yep.
And so yeah, silver, gold, but also all the other commodities. Pork bellies, wheat.
Right.
Their money's going to flow to anything that has physical, tangible value. Because right now they're lying to us. If you go to John Williams' Shadow Stats,
Yep.
well, they'll actually give you, the real thing. Like they're claiming, inflation is 8.3%, or it was last year. Well, actually, it was 17%, because he uses the things they did in the 60s and 70s when they actually did accurate things. So he just goes back, and unemployment, the same thing. Our real unemployment rate something like 24%, right? And because that's the problem. You can't get really the good economic data. So you can't really believe anything they tell you.
Because they're comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah.
To try to skew the view and manipulate people's emotions and control the situation.
And obviously, and also they want to cheat people. They want to cheat the Social Security people, because if they had to actually pay 17% increase in Social Security, which is what really happened, then instead they give them like an 8.3, right? Mm-hmm. So they just cheated those Social Security people out of like 11%. Or a 9% of what they should have gotten. And they've been doing that cheating consistently. The average Social Security payment would be 3 times what it is now, due to all the cheating that's gone on over the last several decades. And that's why, a lot of the older people can't make ends meet, whereas before Social Security could do it. And we have the assets to pay the Social Security and all that, except we don't have to, the actual, well, you guys all probably heard Catherine Austin Fitts.
Mm-hmm.
Missing money that's going
trillions of dollars,
tens of trillions of dollars.
Yes.
Yeah, no, we have more than enough money to take care of Social Security and all that. We don't have money to pay a bloated, gigantic military to oppress the world, or
Right.
They say some people think it's secret space program, but I think it's more likely going into their back pockets.
Yes,
out to the Cayman Islands.
Literally, there's an Oklahoma senator, and she's at this super strange lighting. It looked like one of Sleepy Joe's things where it's like dark and red lights coming up, and I was like, this is very weird setup. But anyway, she's like, everyone's so mad at us for approving the budget and saying yes to it, and she's like, but don't you know the money's coming back? Like, the money's going there, but then it's just paying our own contractors.
Oh yeah. The Ukrainians aren't getting that money. Well,
she literally admitted to it. Yeah, that they were just washing it over there.
Oh yeah, that's the way it is. A lot of this foreign aid, you always heard the foreign aid we want to give. I think who was that guy? Economic hitman.
John Perkins.
Yeah, he wrote a book about, and that's how it is. Yeah, they go, they're going to loan this third world country a bunch of money, but the money doesn't go to the third world. Well, a certain amount goes to bribes, right, to the top leadership, but then it goes in to pay some U.S. contractor to build the dam or put the road into the port at exorbitant prices, way over market value. And so now they've got a port or whatever, but it's way overpriced. And then of course eventually they can't pay their bills, and then of course then that's when the economic hitman, come in and you're going to have to give us this or that, and if they don't do something, it'll happen like a Colonel Gaddafi or Saddam Hussein, right?
Yes.
Saddam Hussein stopped paying in U.S. dollars. 6 months later, his neck was out on noose, and Colonel Gaddafi thought he was going to make this gold dinar for Africa, an African gold dinar,
and give clean water. We also just saw a documentary about that today.
Yeah, he was dead a few weeks later, and all the gold disappeared.
Yep.
Nobody knows where it went.
And see, that's the whole thing. It's all about the maintaining the economic stability or the usefulness of the Federal Reserve note. That's all it's been. Because if you go back and you had to fight wars with gold, real money, and hire mercenaries with something real, That's why they said, no, we can't have this. We got to have a Fed. We got to print money. We have to have a central bank. And ever since you've had a central bank, you've had 2 world wars. You've been at perpetual war because now they can just, and they'll enforce it. Well, that's the only thing that backs the dollar is the U.S. military. That's it. That's the only thing that backs it.
Student debt.
Oh yeah, student debt, on paper. But I mean, when it really comes down to it, it's the U.S. military. It's just like you were talking about, Ken. Gaddafi, you get out of line, you're gone. Saddam, you're going to take euros for oil? No, gone. You're a terrorist. You got weapons of mass destruction. Yeah, you got euros and not dollars. That's your weapons of mass destruction. I mean, and see, that's how they operate. And I mean, once we get our heads around that all of the things, all of the corruption is based on the money. It's the ability to print the money, create the money out of nothing, and then form 3-letter agencies, form all these dark programs, send troops to war, and then all we have to do is just say, no, we're not going to use it anymore. I call it a vampire casino. Quit using the poker chips and walk out and use something different. You've got opportunities to do that. You've got gold, you've got silver, now you get crypto. I mean, those are the things we need to do is take the energy away. Don't feed the vampire and stop letting them rule your life. Look at the commercials on the network Mockingbird News. That's all you got to know. You see what funds it, and then and you put all the pieces together, and you're like, wait a minute. This whole thing is nothing but a fraud, nothing but an illusion, and that's what they perpetuated on you. So yeah, go back to the local level, trust yourself, find other like-minded people, and that's how you got to kind of start over, I think, because I think the whole thing is just done. It's going to collapse. And so we have to make sure that at the local level, at the people level that we see every day, because the people we see are good people every day. It's on the TV screen. Oh my God, the world's falling apart. Well, surround yourself with good people and fix the problem, because you don't need government to clean the ditches and pick the can up yourself. I mean, we can do all these things on our own and make things work. It's just that you've got to break free from that educational system, from womb to tomb, as Rush used to say. You've got to break free from all that stuff, all that madness that they've inculcated our minds with, and just say, no, I'm going to live my own reality. I'm not going to participate in the illusion. I'm not going to be in the vampire casino. I'm walking out and taking my energy elsewhere.
So if we're that close, we all see it, hear it, know it. We're hearing it all over the interwebs, and from the people that are in the know that, do deals with the big banks and the mint and all these people that we are in touch with and follow. Will they use an event, and or will it be a real event with some help coming? I'm curious. M9 in the chat says, oh, Miss Lisa, there's craft that are visible on public cameras. Hawaiian Observatory, Pleiadian, he says, the biggest fleet, 144.
This is what I want to get into.
You have some experience with
here.
Yes. So Ken has some experience with UFOs. MUFON was part of MUFON. Were you the president for a while?
No. I was just a science consultant.
Consultant.
When John Schuessler was president, we used to have out in Lakewood, they had actually headquarters there. So I used to do consulting with unusual cases that came in and things like that.
So there is the documentation of UFOs. They've started dripping it out a little bit. I've seen even on mainstream media, they showed little videos here and there. How do you think
they're on the streets? We've got Lockheed Martin down the road, and in the local King Supers there. I had a friend. They were going in, and there was these people in the store, and they had way too small heads, like
Fetterman.
Yeah, well, it's one of the things is the technology. You always see these guys, these really tall ones at 8 or 9 feet. There's a technology that's not allowed for humans, which actually extends the lifespan of humans or other animals or critters from other planets. And part of the side effect of that life extension technology is that it causes the person to kind of go, the growth plates open up on your bones again, and so you're kind of like a crocodile. You get a little bit larger every year. And guys like Saint Germain, right? They have reports of him over the centuries, and every time people saw him, he was a little taller than the last time. The same way with Tenya, Apolloensis of Tenya. And that was another guy that was back in the Greek times. And so that's so if you had really short little humanoids and you kept pulsing them, eventually they get tall. But one of the problems is the head doesn't keep up with the growth of the body. So the head looks a little smaller than the rest of the body. So that's what these guys were. And
could that be what
interesting.
Trump Jr., what's his name?
Barron?
Barron Trump? Could
Oh,
that be
no,
why
no,
he's so tall?
tall. No, it takes a long time to get
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know if he time traveled and
Mhm.
then that's what caused him to keep growing or something.
Well,
I don't know. I'm trying
he's
to
just
put
extra
things
tall. I
together.
don't know where that came from, but taller than
Probably
Daddy.
his mother's a supermodel and his
Yeah,
dad's
something
Donald
like
Trump,
that.
you know.
No, so that's why you always see these reports of 8, 9, 10-foot aliens. That's what it is, because they just use that technology. We're not allowed to have it. Not that we don't have it, but well, some people have it, but they didn't give it to the Queen and they didn't give it to the Lord Rothschild. So, oh well, guys, I guess your real masters don't really share with you the good stuff, do they?
So are they here to help us?
Well, I think it's like anything else. The whole thing I've found, it's kind of as above, so below. And so, Earth is like one of those pathetic third world nations, like some island out in the middle of wherever. And you've got the commies, you got the Soviets, right? You got the Americans, you got the commie Chinese, right? You got probably, maybe a little French action going on there too. So you have all these different groups and each one has their own angle, right? And are they, and some maybe like the Nomo, the fish people were probably more friendly tourists than others, but they all have their own agenda, so to speak. And so is there really a good and bad? Well, there's probably some that are better than others, that's for sure. But it's more like shades of gray than black and white.
So, and until we elevate consciousness, we're kind of not worth saving, maybe in some of their eyes.
Well, first off, people have to, you got to have the change happens up here, or it happens up there. I mean, it's just the same way with the, some people just jump right in because they're told to do it. And, if the mainstream media tells them, well, those are just all wazy, cracked out, UFO conspiracy, theories, well, that's fine. Then they'll just do that. I mean, people have to, basically the number one thing people can do to like bring themselves consciousness, which probably people, if they're listening to this, that's probably not going to be a problem. But, it's like turn off the television pretty much. That's what you do. Just turn it off permanently and stop listening to the BS that comes flowing out of it because it's all lies.
Programming.
Yeah, you can just go to the internet and you can find your own sources of information, right? You got, you can, if you want to listen to Cliff, if you want to go, to what really happened, or, Jeff Rentz, or, if you want to watch Joe Rogan or whatever it is you want, you have a choice. And you're not sitting there being told what to think and what to do. If you have a choice to go do whatever you want. I mean, if you want to watch cute cat videos, that's fine too. But I mean, it's you're in control of your own like information environment rather than somebody, putting you in a box and just programming you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know I'm not sure how much time you have, but you said that you are a Litecoin fam member.
Yeah, I have plenty of time. It's Friday.
So, okay, cool.
Nothing else to do. Right?
Okay.
I love it.
Awesome. So you are a Litecoin fam member, which all you have to do to be part of the club is hodl some Litecoin.
Have a Litecoin.
Yeah, Litecoin, because it's actually more transactable than like Bitcoin by a long shot. And so that's one of the good things about Litecoin, because and some of that, but the other problem with Bitcoin, but it also feeds over to the other coins, is they turn Bitcoin into a commodity.
Yes.
And they did that purposely, the same way they jam silver down, because they can just naked short silver. They can naked short gold. They can create infinite amounts of money out of thin air and back it up with some derivatives fakery. And now they can do that with Bitcoin because the transactions are settled in cash, not Bitcoin. So they don't need Bitcoin to influence the price of Bitcoin. And which is exactly why they made it a commodity, not a currency, so that they could get away with that. And that's, they're just hammering down just like they do, just like gold, silver, and Bitcoin, because those things kind of, the US dollar is compared to gold, compared to silver. So it's critical. Uranium or nickel can go up and down all over the place, right? Because they're not currency metals. Whereas the gold and silver, even though we had 20% inflation this year, has gold really gone up 20%? No, it hasn't, because they're just pounding, and they won't let that go until their system blows. But that could be coming a lot closer than people, because there's this, what's going to happen in Europe this winter? It's getting cold, and they don't have the gas. And then they were going to do this stupid thing where they're going to set a price cap for natural gas and oil, and which is total. And Dubai just told them where they get a lot of their gas now, their liquid natural gas and other oils. It's on, hey, if you put a price on, if you put a cap price on Russia, which is one of the major energy curves, they're first, we're next. Sorry, dude, we will stop sending you natural gas and oil. You want to play that game? Fine. We don't have to. We can sell it to China. We can sell it to India. Maybe we'll make a little bit of a loss on it, but we're not going to let somebody else fix the prices and control us. And, the Saudis don't want that. The Dubai, they're the ones that basically spoke for the Saudis. The Saudis would do the same thing, but they have to be more, because, they could, the United States has a deal with the Saudi, the whole.
Yeah.
The Saudis came out, I think last week, and said China is a wonderful partner.
Yep.
And said,
going to join the BRICS.
Yeah, and they're ready to go trade oil in the digital yuan. They'll do it right. They'll do it tomorrow. Right now, they have that deal because they know if that happens, the U.S. will do something and maybe cause a war between them and Iran, which they said, Iran is planning to attack Saudi Arabia, blah, blah, blah. BS. Iran is not planning to attack Saudi Arabia. That's just turning the thing, because the Saudis are probably talking a little bit about, maybe trading with the Chinese. The next thing you know, Iran would attack and we'll have to be there to protect you, because, so it's just, the politics is getting downright dirty out there. I mean, we know who blew up the pipelines, but we obviously know who blew up the pipelines because
It's
they
done.
3 out of 4. They're obviously so incompetent, they can't actually do all the pipelines. So that pretty much tells you who's responsible right there. I mean, because if the Russians were going to blow up pipelines, they would have done all of them, right? They're not that incompetent, neither are the Chinese. But there are other people that are really incompetent, and we won't say their names because it probably. No. But anyway, that's so we know who did it. Everybody knows who did it, and there's going to be consequences this winter when the Germans and the French and everybody else is sitting there in the cold and they don't have jobs because the industry shut down, and they got these horrible leaders. You could see the same thing, the collapse of the Soviet Union, how it just kind of fell apart and there was nothing they could do no matter how many tanks they had. You can see that exact thing happen in Europe this winter.
So it really is pushing the people. It's taking, because when this all started, when did this start? But when the great gingivitis outbreak happened, I kept saying like, people never do that. No one's putting a mask on. No one's going to do that, and then it was like, well, how much pain is it going to take? They're doing what? They're doing what to kids' schools? They're doing, it was like they were attacking the people, then they were attacking their jobs, and people were like, oh, I'm okay with that. I'll stay home, and then they started attacking their schools. And then they were like, oh, well, I need a babysitter, so it's okay, and it was like, what is it going to take? And we're being pushed to this point of like lack of the 3 basic necessities, like shelter, basically, warmth, food, that's what it's taking for people to say enough.
Yeah. We'll go to the grocery store. Right. There's 8.3% inflation. Go down, buy your groceries. It's pretty obviously that's a lie. And like I was listening, and how the took out how many small businesses, and then the next round was this inflation stuff, right? That is just devastating small business. I mean, we're feeling it for sure on our side, but like this month, I guess 40% of or it was last month, 40%, I guess that's October, 40% of small businesses couldn't make the rent. Right?
Yes,
40% of small businesses. And small business is really the core of the American economy. And if you think about the small business got wiped out by this, we all know them. And then now this, and it's just like an attack on the core of it and what all the big giant monster corporation structures are left. But there's a problem there. And one of the things that's been going on, which used to be illegal, was buying back your stock. That was illegal. You would throw you in jail before, but now they made it all wonderful. And because, the corporate leaders, the president, the corporate board, everybody's paid on the value of the stocks, right? And so and the government looked the other way. So they were borrowing money at, 0.25%, 0% interest, going out and buying back their stock and just driving the prices up, the stock up. But they're building a huge debt burden on the side of on the backside. Now that was great when interest rates are like 0.25% or something. What's going to happen here now? Interest rate, they punched the interest rate. What was it? 3.25%, 3/4% right now, and obviously they're going to raise another 0.5% here.
They said
bonds got to roll over, right? Those corporate bonds and government bonds. And now they're going to have to pay, 6% to roll those bonds over. Well, if you actually look at, their balance sheet, you're going to have not just the federal government having to roll over its debt, which is sitting at next to nothing, but when these big corporations roll over their debt, they're going to be, their interest payments are going to be way bigger than their profits. And at that point, you've got some other consequences.
And so will it roll down again, just like Lehman in 2008, to the people being the ones that suffer for it? The bail-ins will happen.
It's on the books. It's on the books. I mean, derivative holders get bailed out first. I mean, your money in the bank, the money you think you have in the bank, you're nothing but a shareholder who gets paid last. The derivative holders with the fake, pyramid on top of the, pyramid, they're the ones that get bailed out first. I mean, that's on the books. And so if you think your money in the bank, your energy that you've got stored up in the bank is going to be worth anything, it's not. You're not going to be able to get it. If you've got money in the bank right now, you shouldn't. I mean, you should have it in something else. You should have it in real things. You should have it in things you need on a daily basis, and store those things up. Because with the way they're breaking supply chains, and then you got the weather that intervenes, you got Mississippi River problems, you got the cold, you've got all these things that are just piling up in a perfect storm to where when it hits, you're not going to be able to afford anything. You're even, I don't care how much money they print and how many price controls they think they're going to put on it.
So speaking of storm, I know.
It's just, you're not going to be able to do it. Get your money, get everything in your possession right now. Storm, yes.
Yeah, speaking of storm, you guys, you heard me saying, the lightning, the thunder, it's supposed to snow tonight. It was 74 this morning. It's supposed to be 36 or something tonight, possible snow. The storm this weekend is called Lisa.
Oh.
So if this happens to be the famous quote, if
the Lisa storm is coming.
If I am upon us, there will be some, I don't know, that would be pretty epic.
It's gonna be crazy.
If this is the tipping point.
If it's a Lisa storm, we're in trouble.
Well, you're in big trouble.
Because I've seen her go to battle, and you don't want to mess with her.
Oh man. Man. So Westwood, fill us in on the what's happening with Litecoin, because I know, we had that news from MoneyGram that only 3 coins were going to be used or accepted in MoneyGram. I don't even know the volume that goes through MoneyGram, but they have a real easy app now. You don't even, they don't have to go to Walmart like they used to send money back to their country. But this is also dollars flowing out of the US. This is also an exponential thing. So it's going to use Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Mm-hmm. And the fees go to the user or the sender. So how many times, if they're looking at that, how many people do you think are going to say, oh, I want to pay in Bitcoin or Ethereum?
Right, because of the fees. Here's a good example. Dogecoin had a big pump. That's what kind of kicked off this little pump in the crypto market. It doubled in a week. And, it's probably because, there are no coincidences, just like politics. There are no coincidences in politics. I think maybe FDR might have said that. Everything happens in politics. It happens for a reason. But, I think it's the same thing with this. I think this is all orchestrated. I think we're living in some kind of simulation at this point. But you've got Dogecoin that pumped up, doubled. And if you look at Dogecoin, if you were to actually use it to send a transaction in Dogecoin, it's 1 Dogecoin. So you're paying like 13, 14 cents to send 1 Dogecoin. So you're paying 1 Dogecoin to send 1 Dogecoin, or 1,000 Dogecoin or 1,000,000 Dogecoin. You're still paying 1. So it's like 13 cents right now to do it. With Litecoin, that's what you're getting at. Mm-hmm. With Litecoin, it's less than a penny to send any amount. I mean, that's the network fee. So you can send $1 million on Litecoin, it costs you less than a penny. So if you're given the option to send money home to wherever it is, Mexico, across the world, somewhere else, doesn't matter, through MoneyGram. I mean, if you're going to use Litecoin, you're going to pay a penny and whatever fee they put on it. You're going to use Ethereum, you're going to pay whatever, it is. Dollars, who knows? Bitcoin, same thing. It's like, Litecoin is like this payment rail that people are starting to, and I think that's part of the pump. Some big money came into it and bought some Litecoin. and pump the price of it. I mean, it's like it's been held back. It's like this secret thing, this payment rail that's been ready to go and been building, and you've got privacy and you've got all these things, the perfect form of digital money built into it. And when people realize in the real world where they say, wait a minute, I'm given a choice between this, this, and this to send money electronically, and this is a penny, and this is $1, this is $10. Yeah, I think I'll pick this one. And so that's the sorry, I was looking.
He's like, I gotta check my
I know. Wife, no, my wife's texting me. You know, I got.
Even more important.
The wallet doesn't matter. Well, it kind of does because she's probably looking for some money. But
wife first, wallet second. Oh man, yeah. So it's really exciting seeing. And you know, I've been saying for a long time that I believe Litecoin, the price has been held down for a time as this, that the people, when the people are ready, when the people really need it, it won't be so sky high that they can't mentally think about, because the newbies don't really understand that they can buy a portion of a Litecoin or a portion of a Bitcoin. I've had multiple people tell me, oh, I want to be getting into crypto, but you know, Bitcoin's 20 grand or whatever. And I'm like, so like you can buy $5 worth of Bitcoin. You know, but they don't understand that because they've either been in like the stock market world or, you know, they just don't understand how it works. It's a new payment system, new technology. And so I think that part of Litecoin being held down is for the people. I've always felt like Litecoin was made for the people, to be the people's money.
No, I agree. I 100% agree with that. I mean, it's like silver to me. And I know there's the old analogy, it's the silver to Bitcoin's gold and this and that, but it really pans out. It really comes to fruition because when you look at Litecoin, it's like this neglected, you know, whatever. It's got all the utility in the world. You need it for payments. I mean, it's got everything built into it like silver does. You know, it's a necessary thing for payment structure, and silver, a necessary thing for technology in the new world, you know, in this digital age. And then you've got gold, you know, this Bitcoin. And then you look at it and you start looking at the fundamentals and you're like, well, okay, there's 21 million Bitcoin, there's 84 million Litecoin, and you've got $20,000 Bitcoin and $60 Litecoin. How does that jive when Litecoin is only a penny to send it? And, you know, it has all this volume. It doesn't make sense. And it's almost like, and you see a lot of people, big players in the Bitcoin space, they won't talk about Litecoin. They just don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. It's like they're not going to talk about it. And it's almost like you won't talk about it. And that's, I mean, seriously, that's the way I look at it. And
it's the same thing they do with Veritasium and Reggie.
It's a huge threat.
They're terrified of Reggie and Veritasium and his patents.
Let's ignore it.
And so they just act like he's not here.
Right. And that's how they play. That's the game they played, though. You know, let's just ignore that person. And then when they get a little traction, oh, it's vast conspiracies. Yeah, it's just nothing but a conspiracy. You know, there's no truth to it. And, you know, and that's kind of the mentality to where I don't think you can hold that back anymore. I think, as Ken said, there's so much information now. There's so many avenues and channels to access that information that at some point you can't keep people asleep. They see what is valuable and they resonate with that. And they say, well, even though these people are telling me these things and it holds them back from getting involved in it, at some point, you know, you listen to yourself and you say, but it works. It does what I need it to do. And I mean, and
now
you internalize that. Yeah. And so at that point, and once you understand that and you start using something like Litecoin, like silver, you know, you have silver and you understand the fundamentals of it. Once that happens and that light clicks, there's no turning it off. It's like, I mean, I don't even know, you know, you can go back to, you know, David Icke, you didn't bring him up. You know, I listen to David Icke, you know, I don't know, like, geez, you know, like wake me up on a lot of things, but he gets me off on these other tangents. And I'm like, what the frick is this guy talking about? Mm-hmm. But it clicked something. It got my brain thinking. And once you wake up and you start doing research on some of this stuff and you start looking at it, there's no going back. And we've got so many people now waking up in this next wave and the next wave that once you understand what something is and you see the truth for yourself, there's no turning back from it. And I just think that we're at that critical moment in humanity to where does the election matter next Tuesday? Probably not. because I think enough of us are starting to realize that none of that matters anymore. We're living in this Roman Empire to where they're issuing edicts and, all these things, executive orders, call them, whatever it is, it's a parallel. Why do we care? Why do we care what they say?
Like if
anymore?
they tried to do a gun grab in the United States.
How do you do that? How do you carry that out? You need physical bodies to go house to house.
Yeah.
And can you have, and you were talking about, Saddam Hussein and Muammar Gaddafi, and you're talking about all these expeditions overseas earlier. How do you carry that out today? I don't think you can. Otherwise, we'd have troops in Ukraine right now. I just don't think you've got the people that are willing to do that right now. You don't have the support and it's not like it was when George Bush said, or Colin Powell said, there's weapons of mass destruction, and George Bush, there's terrorists everywhere around every corner. I mean, I just don't think we live in that world today. I think the consciousness is at a different level now to where you can't pull that kind of stuff anymore. And you're looking at the desperate actions of the, so-called leaders, the people in control right now, these mafia bosses, and they just have no power anymore. They're paper bulls. They just don't have it. And I don't think the people are buying into it. And that's why I think, the election really doesn't matter, because we're all just kind of disconnecting from it, and it's just going to fall. It's like a big Jenga tower. The bottom's going to come out and the whole thing's just going to drop because we just don't give it that power. We don't find it legit anymore. And we're not deceived by it anymore, I guess. That's where I think we're at. And
so
I hope we are.
Yeah, in the Great Depression.
I was supposed to be talking about Litecoin, and I went off and doing.
I know. In the Great Depression, though, there were stories of after the war, and so the Great Depression, the Roaring '20s, the Great Depression, then the war. There were stories that they knew the dollar was failing, and so you would find like items that you wouldn't normally see out in farmhouses, like there's an expensive piano or something, or because they were just trying to get their money out of the system kind of thing.
Get something
in exchange for this that they thought that the government was going to take, or was being, worth nothing. I wonder if we'll see that again, or are we seeing that already? Is that why?
I think that's where the Cliff High data comes in. And I think that's what he's resonating and getting the pulse of, to where he's saying, cryptos will, I don't know what the exact language is, but crypto will, a rush to own it, because there's going to be this rush. And I think that's what you're seeing right now. That's why, to get back to what we were talking about, that's why you saw Litecoin go up. That's why you see the crypto market starting to go up. There's a different sense in this to me. And I've been around the crypto market since 2013-ish. And I've kind of watched it and, internalized it, and then finally said, okay, this is sound money for the digital age. I'm in, but I just get that different sense now, to where there's almost that desire to own something else, to get outside the system. You don't see people 20 years old, 30 years old, even buying stocks. You don't see them participating in that old system anymore that's been built by all of the, the military industrial complex, pharma industrial complex, all those things, all of those big, towers that have been built up. I with Project Paperclip, get into that, that whole mentality. I don't see that anymore. I see it more as, we're going to participate in this world, and you know what? We don't care anymore what these talking heads say. And I see more and more of that. Yeah, there's too many people that listen to it. But as generations come up and come along, I look at my daughter who's 18. She doesn't want to pay with cash. She wants to go digital. She doesn't want to handle that stuff. And she actually came to me and said, hey, I need to put some more money in my bank account so I can spend with the card. She doesn't want to handle the cash. I mean, see, we're in this digital age where people, and all the systems are built. You go to the gas station, it's a pain in the ass. Walk in, you got to give them money because you got to pay at the pump. And it's like, okay, here's the $20 bill. And now I can get my $20 in gas. It's like, we're in that digital age where everything is going digital. And that makes sense, because
but like Ken said,
we want it to be more efficient.
If they're doing test rounds already of turn the little plastic card off and see how long it takes for the people to revolt, that's also be a good citizen and comply, or we will turn your little
and totally
card
get
off.
it, because
and
that's
why do you
what
think
they're
they're
going to do.
pushing the CBDC?
Exactly.
All tied
because
in.
Exactly, because we are going digital, and as a species, as a race, I think we all go digital. However, if we're going digital to make sure we get that George Jetson world, the efficiency world, all those things, there's two paths within the digital. There's
There's a
the
freedom
government
path.
issued CBDC, and then there's the other digital to where you
The
can
freedom
hold it in your own
path.
possession. Exactly. And we have that choice. It's all about choice. It always has been about choice. Just because they say, hey, turn in your gold, how many people turned it in? Just the slaves. I mean, there are so many people that'll tell you stories. I didn't turn that gold in, I held it. You know, and that's where we have to be, to where it's like, no matter what they say, no matter what it is, we have to be true to ourselves and know where we're at, and just, you got to trust yourself is really what it comes down to. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. And in a digital world, if you don't have solid cryptocurrencies that you hold in your own possession, you're done. You're done. And that's why that CBDC, I think it's going to fail. I really do. Just because there are just too many people waking up every day.
Yeah. Yeah, one of these guys actually pulled something off that worked. I mean, look at like the military stuff. You know, look at the USS Gerald Ford. How about the F-35? That didn't work too well. How about the Hummer? I don't know if they're going to make this great new Hummer, right? And they roll it off the line. They put the weapons package on it, and it warps the frame so much they can't open the doors, or if they're open, they can't close it. And I mean, imagine that these people have the competency, or can even hire they don't have the competency to even hire the right people to get the job done. They'll just hire bootlickers who can't get the job done. So they think they can put a central bank digital currency in. I mean, maybe the Chinese can pull that off, but not the jokers we've got running the U.S. They just don't have the competency to do anything. Basically, they'll just mess it up. What they do is they're really good at destroying things and messing things up, but actually creating something, they don't have much skill at that.
And that's just it. As long as you allow them, that's why I say they're a cardboard cutout. They're a Western scene, you know, with the houses up, and they look, oh my gosh, you know, we've got all this stuff. But behind it, there's nothing. It's just 2x4s holding it up. I mean, it's nothing but a fraud. And when you buy into the fraud, you perpetuate it. And it's what's the Russian Potemkin village? You know, that's kind of what it is. You know, you've got this fake village that, oh, wow, it looks beautiful. Okay, yeah, I like it. You know, and as long as you buy into that mentality, then okay, it perpetuates the system. But when it comes to real things, when it comes to actually using things on a day-to-day basis, I mean, you know better than they do. Go back to that Greek system. I mean, why do you think that those leaders have more competence than you do? I mean, look at the guy stumbling around that's supposedly the president. I mean, I could pick any person here in my quote neighborhood, you know, square miles, you know, that, you know, are around me. I'll pick any farmer, and I guarantee
there's only like job. 3 of them.
Yeah, exactly. And those 3 are going to do a better job than what we've got now. I mean, why do we think that just because they have clout, just because they have, you know, a million followers,
that they're superior
of
videos, us, yeah,
and because, you know, somebody's projected them on the screen, that they're a better human being and have more, you know, common sense than you do? They don't. They're bought and paid for. I mean, when you realize that, more and more people are realizing that, and social media allows that, you know, I mean, it's exposing so much of the good and the bad of humanity that I think it's a good thing, because it awakens us quicker. We're in that quickening moment to where, okay, we're heading full bore into this decision-making time, and you can just shut down and just cower in a corner and think that, oh my God, you know, this virus is going to kill me, even though this virus is the flu that's been around forever. I mean, you can do, and it's on a Lysol can before it even came out, and it's like, oh, it's something new. No, it's not something new. Humanity has survived for how long? I don't know, but we do survive. It's because, you know, we just keep on going. We just keep on fighting. We keep on trusting ourselves. We keep on getting through day to day, and exposing the fraud, and just realizing that all of it is theater. All of it is an illusion. Yeah, look at this madness. Oh, yeah, and this, she says, well, the Republicans say that crime is bad. Well, you know, Republican states have the highest crime. Yeah, Republican states. Okay, whatever. It's the big cities in the Republican states that have the highest crime that cause the Republican states to have crime. And I mean, it's this just lying, and people are seeing through that.
Little disclosure, would that be a disclosure? I don't know. Little side note, I'm not saying that this is a clone. I'm just saying she has a fantastic plastic surgeon, or whatever treatment she might have received that could be evil, or maybe it's another person pretending to be her. Jim Willie did have input on this to do with a expert with voice recognition, that the voice was the same.
Yeah, but every leader has multiple doubles.
Yes.
Saddam Hussein had them, Hitler had them, Stalin had them. Every leader has multiple doubles, and so they do that. So because sometimes it's too dangerous, they'll put the double out there or something, or whatever it is, the situation. So yeah, it's not. This is not inconceivable. It's what they do.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember at the 9/11 event where she collapsed in front of the van and they dragged her into the van, and then she came out a day later? That looked nothing like her. The person who came out of Chelsea's condo apartment and came out. I mean, it looked nothing like her. And at that moment, I'm like, what the frick is going on? Looks nothing like her. And so you're absolutely right, Ken, because they've done this forever. They've done this for a long time. Because, I remember Saddam Hussein is just perfect. It's like, which Saddam is it? He's out there in the public. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not the real Saddam. Will the real Saddam please stand up? Will the real Joe Biden please stand up?
But the thing is, the human ego is so proud. So getting people to admit, because it was hard for me. It's hard for all of us.
You didn't deceive me. I'm not going to admit to it.
We have been, there's another saying, you remember, I'm a terrible quoter, but something about, it's easier to trick a man than to convince him he's been tricked. And as all this information is coming out, people are going to have to say, oh my God, I fell for that. But we all fell for it.
Well, exactly. And that's it. That's why it's so important to forgive yourself.
But will the human ego get in the way of this truth getting out?
It usually does, but that's the point where you need to step back. This is why we've always been the same since the beginning of time. All we're doing is changing the scenery on the stage. We are always the same. And at some point, you have to realize, okay, my ego, what I think, what I believe, I know I'm right because I'm an Aquarius, but I'm just talking about other people. But, you have to come to grips with, at some point, maybe I was deceived. Maybe, I shot my kids up with the prick, because that was the thing to do. And now we've got all these other on the schedule. You've got all these other things. And then you come to an awareness and you say, oh my God, I did that to my children. And then, but you have to realize, you know what? You didn't necessarily do it. You just weren't awake. I mean, they deceived you, and you have to forgive yourself. Yes, you have to forgive yourself, and you have to say, you know what? I did the best I could, and maybe I should have been more awake. Doesn't matter. Now to the future is what counts, because we're at that moment right now to where we can change humanity and take another path. We have to do that. Forget about the sins. Forgive yourself and move on. And I mean, quit holding that baggage. I mean, we're all sinners. We're all mixtures of good and evil. I think people are more good than evil. And so we have to just say, you know what? I've made mistakes. I've screwed up. I might have damaged people. I might have hurt people. But you know what? I'm sorry. And I'm sorry. You got to say sorry to yourself first. You got to say, you know what? I got to do the best that I can with the time that I've got now and try to make it better so that humanity can rise and so that we can change this. You got to let go of that baggage. Don't hold on to it and use that as an excuse to not move forward. You have to move forward. I mean, that's what we do. And so you just got to let go of it. It's forgiveness. I mean, isn't that the core of most of the people in the United States who claim to be Christians? Forgive yourself first and move forward.
And the church used to do all the things that government does now. So if we had community, like Ken was saying, go back to local, have community, small groups, then if you know your neighbor, you care about your neighbor. And when your neighbor's in trouble, you lend them some eggs or sugar or take care of their kid when they're sick or do the things that a community does, to be a group. So they want it. The best way for them to isolate us all is to tell us all we're entitled little rats and that we don't have to be our brother's keeper.
And but you see that. I mean, how many people really know their neighbors, especially live in the suburbs or the city? Hardly anybody. I know when I was a kid, our parents would just kick us out of the door in the morning.
Figure it out.
Moving your bikes around, doing all that, with the rest of the neighborhood kids, and all the parents do everything. But today, you go through the neighborhoods, and there's no kids outside. They're all in front of a screen,
Mhm.
It's like that's it. Just you know, you maybe see the blue flicker of light. That's about all you'll ever see, is because that whole thing that was when I was a kid is just gone, and now they're just behind these screens, just whatever
The metaverse.
lost in the metaverse or the proto metaverse,
Yeah.
and that's that's not the real world. That's
No.
not the
Well,
real
we used to get
world.
excited about, I'm sorry, Ken. We used to get excited about like the people coming over. Like if somebody came over, my mom was like, "Oh, we have company." And, got out little snacks and whatever, and you behaved because we had company. And it was an exciting time that we had company. Now, I've had literally times where I know that that person was home and they would not open their door. Or somebody, you text them, or what was the example the other day? Oh, I was in the airport a while back and these young girls were beside me and they were like offended that their parents were reminding them that they hadn't responded to a text. And this one goes, yeah. And then one time my parents called me. How
Oh,
rude.
Lord. Oh,
And they were like, how rude. I'm thinking, I'd be thrilled if my parents were calling me and checking on me. And like, it's just gone this total.
they should have texted me. I mean, what an inconvenience to call. Don't leave a message, please. Just text me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's backwards and upside down. And so, you know what? If it has to break first to start over, then we did it to ourselves, I guess. We brought ourselves to this point. So,
And that's why it's important to look at yourself and realize who you are and what you're all about, and what you want out of this life that you've been so blessed to be incarnated in, which I think you've chosen to come here. We've all chosen to come here to fight this battle. I mean, really, it's just an amazing time to be alive. And so
Yeah.
we have to use this avatar that we have, what strength we have in it, as long as the heart's beating, as long as the blood's flowing, we have to do things that are right to help elevate humanity to the next level. And maybe the Pleiadians will save us. I don't know. Maybe we'll connect with them.
I don't know. I'm
I'm not
curious
sure,
what
or whatever
Ken's
race of
thoughts
beings
are.
that's out there, Yeah, let's
On
get into that a little
that,
bit.
Yeah. And also the cosmic bus stop.
The
If
cosmic bus
No,
stop.
the
Yeah.
You
fact
share your
that
thoughts.
yeah, the fact that nobody has come down and talked, because would you really? I mean, would you really, if you're just maybe somebody came by? I mean, first off, what sort of governments do we really have?
Right.
Our governments don't represent the people. They take me to your leader. Well, you're really just a slave. What do what am I going to talk to your slave master? Maybe I don't agree with that whole concept. And so, so they're not interested, and they never have communicated really with the government. Maybe there's some stuff with the U.S. and other things, but I mean, this is pretty a backward planet here, and I mean, if they can't even admit, I mean, our government's so corrupt they can't even admit the existence of the presence here and all that other, and just the tons of lies that flow out every day, and it's just nothing but lies, and I'm and then the ridiculous thing when they did that the Tic Tac BS. I mean, that had been out on, that stuff had already been released years before, and it was an all CIA operation.
Are you talking about? I don't know what the Tic Tac BS is. Is
Oh,
that a ship?
Yeah, who was that guy they had out? The one that was going to do the expose. He worked for the government, trying to make a name.
That got his arm like burned off.
No, this is a recent one.
Oh.
He was ex-CIA guy, but he's still working for the CIA. Tom Lennon. You remember anyway. I can't try to remember his name. He just floated. It was one with the Tic Tacs. They opened that. Here, maybe somebody can put it up on
maybe
the chat.
Somebody in the chat knows.
Yeah, who's that latest guy that came? He was a CIA plant. He came out and he talked about how he was in the government. He's going to expose it, but they actually found out later that he was still working for the government, and it was just nothing but a big CIA operation.
It's their narrative.
It was that they came out, and now they've thrown that into the dirt, and because it didn't work out, people didn't believe it, because people aren't going to believe. They're never going to be disclosure, first off. And if there is anything, that they'll just be lying to you. They're never going to actually tell. Yeah, DeLong. That's the guy, DeLong. Thank you. And it was just another psych op BS. Let's give them, feed them, keep in the dark and feed them something, right? and that's the way that it always does. And it's the same way with any of things. It doesn't matter what comes out of the government. I don't think they can actually ever say the truth ever. It's just pathologically impossible for them to say the truth. They always have to lie, and no matter what it is, they're going to lie.
Yeah, there's strength in numbers, though, in power and in collective consciousness. And so there's like FIFA is coming up, the largest watched event in the world is this, and they're having it for the first time ever in Qatar. And there's all these like weird things that I'm like, what if they use those screens to like, what if somebody hacked in and use those screens to expose or educate people? Or do you think people just wouldn't believe what they were seeing, or they'd buy their narrative, their home team's
I
narrative?
think it's the voice of authority. Like they'll believe, they'll believe to do this, or all those
white
people
jacket.
in their gold, or there's some people that are just, they've been programmed since childhood to obey the voice of authority. And I have relatives like that. It doesn't matter how much evidence you bring before them, scientific evidence by whatever this is. And I'm just talking this stuff, a lot of other stuff. It doesn't matter because I'm not the voice of authority, or somebody else is not the voice of authority, no matter how much evidence it is, because they need a master to tell them what to do, to tell them what to think, to tell them how to act, to do everything. They're sovereign individuals that are in charge of their own life. They're basically just programmed robot people, and that's one of the biggest problems is dealing with it. And I have my own relatives like that. They'll believe what somebody says on TV. They won't believe what I say, even if I brought a stack of evidence that reached the ceiling. It doesn't matter. They need that voice of authority, that authority figure to exist or to function. And it's a problem.
Yeah, when the slavery was abolished, there were actually slaves that were upset about it and went back to their owners and said, like, what am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
I need work. And then like they did indentured servanthood. I'm not,
Servitude,
Ben and I have had talks about this on the road for hours and hours, but I don't remember all the exact details. But it was shocking to me to hear that people would choose to be enslaved. But I guess we do it every day in different ways.
Yeah, you choose to be enslaved. Lisa, I mean, it is antithetical to my existence to obey an order. I would be the worst soldier. Look at my daughter. Look at my youngest daughter.
I know. I love her.
She is like, every day from school, she comes home and she says something. I'm like, oh my God, you're going to get kicked out. And you know what? If she does, she does. I don't care, because she does not care. It's just like, if somebody tells me to do something, I immediately think,
no.
Yeah, that's just it.
And then you'll listen to reason.
And it's just like, no, you're not going to control me. I can't control her. Nobody can, and it's just like, and I look at her and I'm like, I'm so proud of her. Because
hope, though.
It does, because there are people like that. There are human beings like that just, and I don't compute, those people who want to be controlled and want to be told what to do. It is just, it's alien to me. Let's throw that out there. It really is. It's just like not in my DNA to want to follow orders, and, I don't care if it's right. I just immediately, I'm going to say no until I can internalize it, until I can say, okay, that's the right thing to do. If somebody tells me to do something, I immediately think it's wrong. And she's that way. And I can't. So the earth really isn't flat, according to that picture. So, I just can't understand how people voluntarily enslave themselves. Why are you following orders? Why are you not trusting yourself? If you believe in God, you believe you're created in the image of God, if you believe in any kind of religion, how can you think that some man, some woman, some leader can tell you what to do? How do you not trust yourself and just say no right away and then make a decision on your own? I can't, it's a block. I can't do it. I don't know how people do that. Yeah. But I've seen people do that, and it's like family members.
It's safe, but what is this?
I
don't know why I have all the great quotes and I'm the worst quoter in the world, but people choose safety over freedom, right, or something like, or
security over freedom, and then you'll have neither.
Yeah.
That is, I guess, just
crazy. So I want to ask you something, Ken. okay, the CIA, they fed the X-Files, the show, they fed them information, right? I mean, what's your take on the X-Files? You know, they had so many different weird things. Is that like, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, some sort of awakening process to try to, call out people who were in tune with something other than what the narrative is? Is that something to wake people up? What's your feeling on that
I think
whole
they allowed,
show?
yeah, because Hollywood and the military have always been in bed together since World War II, and the same way with peer-reviewed stuff. That's government peer-reviewed stuff, and so yeah, I think they let a little bit leak out, but in the real world, they just basically take all that stuff and it goes into a black hole somewhere, and there's actual agencies that deal with that, but you don't hear X Protect and things like that. But they don't, they just keep it silent because there's a lot of technologies that come out of that. A lot of the light fiber stuff, some Velcro, even. These things were recovered stuff, and they've helped in the industry, and that's what kind of has been going on a lot. That's been going on behind the scenes, and so it's economic as well. And with Kastornoff and Fitz, she's showing, the mostly appears to go to the military. That's just the $20 trillion or 20. Now it's probably like 25 or 30.
Right. I think she said 23 trillion, but what difference does it make?
Yeah, and then in 19, it was like 2019, I think was the last year they did, or whatever it was, they could do that because of FASB 56, whatever it was that year. And then so what they did is, I think so from 2019, so it was like 2000, I think Trump signed it in 2015, so they couldn't look at the government books. So they just went and looked at the turnover on the bonds, right? Because there's so many 10-year treasuries, so many, and they turn over, and because we're not paying them off, right? So the turnover can actually be seen, and they estimated from the turnover, there's something like, at that time, something like, $93 trillion in outstanding
90 trillion.
Yeah, and so the Fitz found maybe 20 trillion had disappeared down the rabbit hole of, we know there was like 20 trillion or 23 trillion that we knew the debt was. 20 trillion had disappeared down the rabbit hole of the military. That leaves $50 trillion. Where did that go? Where did that 50, because that's how many, bonds are outstanding. Where does that $50 trillion go? I mean, that's just insane levels of money.
And how do you pay that off at 5% interest?
You can't.
I mean, you know what I mean? And that's the thing with the Fed raising it. And so I'm trying to get around the end game here.
Well,
with the Fed raising,
are they
collapsing the government?
Yeah, it's going to go hyperinflationary. That's the only way they can do it. Their debt is so huge. And if you look at history, right, what other governments have done, virtually every other government, there's never one that's bit the bullet and tried to fix the thing, right? What they always do is they just hyperinflate the debt away. Because if they can create 50% inflation in a year, well, 50% of the debt just disappeared, or 100% inflation. Then 100%, it's gone down. The debt's gone down, 50% too. And so that's really, that's usually what happens. If we look at history, whether it's in Germany or in Latin America or in Argentina, all of those places we've seen it in Asia happen to. It's when it gets to that point where the government can't pay the bills and the debt is too huge. The final thing is they just inflate it out. And then it causes hyperinflation, which causes the collapse of the currency. And when the U.S. dollar is no longer the world trading currency,
and it's not,
that's it. Game over, and it all ends right then.
So what's the event? I think we have to have an event to break the mentality of people and just snap everybody's normalcy bias.
Well,
are we going to have a Project Bluebeam? Or is that out there enough to where people are no, we're not going to believe in fake aliens coming down and saving us with CBDCs? What's the event?
They told them they're real aliens. Then Biden got on. We're alien invaded. Maybe the sheeple will believe them. But what I think is probably going to happen is we'll have a seize up in the debt market because the bubble is so inflated. It'll probably something go bad in Europe. In the derivatives market, because everybody's, because of what's happening right now, all these companies are being shut down because they don't have energy. They have all these payment due. Something will go wrong, and it could get out of control because this is trillions of dollars of quadrillions of dollars, 3,000 trillion dollars, right, sloshing around. If that gets going back and forth, it could just cause like a lockup in the currency markets. And lock up in the debt markets, and and then that goes to a lockup in the bank markets. And one day that you go out and that piece of plastic doesn't stop working. and
Right.
maybe they'll reboot it after a while, but that's entirely possible scenario that could happen. It could just get out of their control. They couldn't stop the breakdown, and then when that piece of plastic stops working, that would be a wake up call. That's the 2x4 to the side of the head kind of situation.
Yeah, that's the hammer to the head, right?
Yeah, because you got to think about it. How many people, what the average person out there, not the people listening here, obviously, what's the average person? How much food does the average person have in their house? How much cash does the average person have in their house? Because even at how much do they have? They don't have, 3 days worth at the most.
Yeah, not even that.
And then bam, what's going to happen then? And
save me.
Yeah, exactly.
Help
but they want to save me. The government, the government doesn't have what the government has, the secret food. They're going to feed themselves. They're going to feed their military, their police forces.
They're not going to give it to you. They're going to say, "Hey, we got to survive because if these hordes come to us, I mean, we got to be strong. We got to make sure we're sustained." Mitch
Here's what
just
they're
said,
say
real quick, Lisa. Mitch just said, if it goes to all cash, then we can't use that anyway because nobody can count and make change.
Well, that's the truth.
It's true.
Seriously.
Experiences with the younger generation, they just like
So my husband just sent me this it's from 4 hours ago. So guys, remember today is November 4th.
Tomorrow. Remember
the 5th of November. They actually changed all the football games that were in Texas and Oklahoma, or there was an article saying they were. I'm not sure if this is actually true. I know the college games are still happening on Saturday, but I was told that all the high school games were moved, if there were any, on Saturday to Friday because of the storm. But then the storm's coming in tonight, so it's kind of strange. But anyway, so save me, help me, save me. Don't worry, everyone. EBS comes out. Download this app. We are going to make you whole with helicopter money from the CBDC.
Yeah, but let's see them.
We'll fix it.
That.
So the Fed, 4 hours ago, the Fed completes its first test with the digital dollar and releases results. And they go in. I haven't read this yet, but it says New York subsidy. The Federal Reserve completes the first test of Project Cedar. Oh, how funny! Old Two-Face we just saw a second ago was named Evergreen.
Yes, exactly. That was her code name, Evergreen.
Kind of funny.
And when you were talking about last night, just to clear that up, Lisa, when public couldn't remember that Santa's bringing a hammer, that portrait was put up in, I think, 2019 at the end of the year, 2018,
as
19.
Part of the White
Portrait
House.
of Santa. It was actually, it was in a Trump hotel, and there was a picture. It had Santa had a hammer, and I mean, it's just like there are too many coincidences not to. There are no coincidences. I mean, and that's why I think, Ken, and maybe you can chime in on this. I think there's future-looking technologies. We've heard about Matt Groening having the Orion Cube. That's why the Simpsons, they have all these, and some of them are fake on the internet, but, has all these like images. The Orion Cube is the way I see it, is you can see images from the future, but you can't see like the lead up and the whole events, the timeline that goes with it, but you can see pictures in the future. And, anyway, did he have access to this thing to where this crystal ball to where you could see like images and things in the future? And that's why it's so prophetic in the Simpsons. Do we have this forward-looking technology? Do we have time travel? Do we have forces of good and evil fighting this out in the future, in the past, and we're seeing it right now in our lifetime play out? I mean, what do you think?
Well, they have remote viewing, and that works really well. You've got the viewing group and all that. And all of those guys, and even the ones that supposedly had stuff, there is a point, like a wall, they can't go beyond. It's like they look, and then they hit this wall, and they can't see beyond it.
Yeah.
So it's like, no matter what they do, no matter what
where's the wall? I guess that's where it's at. Where is the wall?
Something happens. Yeah, where it is. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere. It's coming up faster and faster, but it's like something, no matter what their manipulations are, no matter what they do, at some point it just doesn't matter. And like the system, something resets everything.
Yeah.
And that's
it's like God's wall in the way.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like, nope, you got to choose. We're not going to show you the future. You've got all the information you need. You have to choose and use free will. Yeah. You're going to be on good side, going to be on the evil side. Yeah. And that would make sense to me.
Yeah, there's something like that. I mean, they can see way, way in the future, so they know there is a future. But there's like something at that point. They just can't. They're not allowed to see. It's almost if they're blocked from
Yeah.
seeing
No.
it, like fuzzed out or something.
Yeah. Interesting
So
stuff. I love
yeah,
it.
so that's probably what they're scared of, because these guys want to stay in power. I mean, people don't give up power willingly.
Absolutely. Boss Hogg is not going to, let anybody else be sheriff. I
Yeah.
mean, he's going to have his, son-in-law, Roscoe P. Coltrane, be the sheriff.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
That's just how it works.
Yeah, but the problem is when the dollar is, loses that current world trading currency status. That's the thing. And I probably talking about, I talked about the 2.5 weeks. Well, back in the 1980s, for some of you that were around back then, we had a guy named Newt Gingrich, and he actually shut down the government. They had a thing with the Congress and stuff, and they shut down the government. And
he's a West Point boy.
Yes, and in like our U.S. military foreign bases, the first week that the troops didn't get a paycheck, they kept working, they kept doing whatever their tasks were, and the second week they didn't get a paycheck, they just sat in the barracks and did nothing because they didn't have the money to go to town and do stuff, and so if they didn't have that, that was it, 2 paychecks. So. And that was back in
that 2.5 week thing, that they did the studies on. You got 20 days maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And so that it doesn't matter how many FBI agents and CIA flunkies and the military secret special forces. Hey, you missed 2 paychecks with those dudes.
It's just a job.
Yeah, and they're going to go looking for something else.
The mercenaries are no longer going to perform. You pay me sound money that I can use to go get hookers and cocaine, or else I'm done.
Yeah,
that goes in line with Uncle Cliff's data, though. He says that they're going to stop working, and they'll actually start taking like the computers or because they're going to be like, I worked past this last paycheck and they owe me, and they're going to start like taking the property from their offices or whatever.
That's why, like Bick says, if you've got your silver warehouse somewhere and you think, oh, that's the most secure warehouse, the guards, like he always says, the guards are going to take that to feed their families.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They are not going to protect your silver, your crypto, your silver. And that's why it's so important. Oh, shout out to Coin Vigilante, Litecoin Watch, because it's Litecoin time. People are not going to let their families starve. Police officers are not going to go out and fight all these knuckleheads on the street when their families are at home unprotected. They're going to go home and protect their families because, the pension system, look at the pensions that people have that are tied to these derivatives, that are tied to all these funds. When that collapses, do you really think they're going to continue to do their job? Most people do their jobs. They're like teaching. I used to be in teaching. I don't teach anymore because I can't, I teach here. I can't teach in the classroom. I'd go back if things were reformed because I want people to elevate. But most
there's
teachers,
no going back, Westwood. There's only going forward.
There's no going back. It's just like you got to go. It's in The Great Gatsby, the green light. It's out there. You can't go back and get Daisy and recreate the past. Anyway, you've got to. So many people that I talk to, it's like, well, I get another year and then I get my pension, then I'm retiring. And they live toward that pension and thinking that that's the end all be all. But
if they're invested, every time you go to sleep, they print more. Your pension will be worth nothing.
Exactly. And that's the point. That's why I'm like, just hyperinflate the shit. Just do it, get it over with, and let's just be human beings again, and let's get back to the TPs and just understand what reality is. And if it takes a little peyote to get there for some people, hey, we need more peyote. The road to hell is paved with unsmoked peyote. We need to make sure that we actually, you become human beings again. Take your freaking shoes off, put your feet on the ground, and realize where you come from, and just know that whatever you believe in, there's something greater than you. It's in you. It's all around you, and be a part of that rather than believing in this just sickening vampire squid system. Stop believing in that. Believe in the people and that's why we have meetups. That's why you can drag me to meetups, Lisa, because I want to get around real people, and that's why I have meetups here. It's because I want to be around real people. I want to feel real people.
I'm plotting and planning with. Yes, I'm going to be telling you more about it, but
okay.
Little Joshy and Paigey and I are plotting and planning some things. And I think it's going to be good. We want to build the community up. We want to bring educators like Ken Schwartz and all the people, all these great freedom-minded things that can bring healthy opportunities for the community, and bring everybody together. Because I think there's really value when we meet together, when we do the meetups. We always take away so much more than, it's great to
Aren't
meet
you
online. And I'm
invigorated though?
very
I mean,
thankful.
Lisa, you're
Yeah,
dying right now, aren't you? You're just like, you want to get out there and meet people. You want to be around people.
I
again, don't
do.
you?
I
I know
love
you do. I know you do,
all
because
of our
you
friends.
are truly just like, you want to be around people and you want humanity to like
Yes.
thrive. I mean, that's
Mhm.
just who you are. And a lot of us are like that. And that's what we need. And we have to do those things. We just have to step out and do it. And that's just it. I mean, you might think, oh, I'm just some guy out in the middle of a cornfield, but you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And if it resonates with somebody and it changes their life, it changes their mindset, don't live a quiet life of desperation. You've got tools inside of you that, you have no idea. Just do it. Just go out and do it. And don't think, that somebody else is going to criticize. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. You have to live and be the person you were born to be, because you chose to be here. You chose to come at this time. You chose to change this world so that humanity wins and humanity rises. I mean, let's be a part of that greater universe. Ken, let me ask you, is the Earth flat or is it a globe?
It's a globe.
All right.
They've been in orbit. They
There
were
you
up
go.
there. They brought pictures back. The ones that
That's it.
not official
There you go.
astronauts either.
You heard it here. Now we know. So Kim, before we go, I do thank you for the partnership and the support for the channel and the opportunity to bring C60 products to our community. Whoops, it's the wrong page. Sorry, guys.
But you got the links below, Lisa, to where you can click
I do
on
have the
and
link below.
okay.
You can click on and get your C60 Purple Power. Like you said, the MCT oil is great for people that are like athletes working out. It gives you a boost of energy as well. I'm excited to try the gummies myself. And my husband loves the cinnamon oil in his coffee every morning. He's like he took the bottle and moved it so only he gets the cinnamon oil, and I get the
It's
avocado.
like grandma hiding the candy in the cupboard.
Yeah.
It's like the kids
But
come over. No.
I would say if you have any trouble, like if your stomach gets upset or whatever, if you're sensitive to taking oils or having oils, the avocado oil is a lot more gentle on your stomach. And so that might be a better choice for you, but there's a lot of great information.
And the gummies are great too. They're really good.
Oh,
People
good.
eat lunch and it no digestive problems at all.
Perfect. So use my link in the description. Check it out. Let's get healthy together. Let's have the opportunity where we can look towards the future, build new things, build up the community, and see each other all very soon. Westwood, where can people find you?
ClintWestwood.net. And you know what? It's a very basic site with a lot of links. But the thing is, if you want to learn about the truth, if you want to get started in crypto, if you want to get started in life, just watch those videos. I mean, and just peel off the, this matrix, get out of the bed, come out of the jail, and just start living and being the person you're supposed to be. That's really what we're here for. I mean, you don't want to be sitting in a rocking chair saying, well, I could have done it. I should have done it. And I had the ability to do it, but I didn't do it. Don't be that person. I mean, just don't.
We're living in a historic time.
We really are. And you're here for a reason. So you've got to, whatever it is you have to offer it up to humanity. And, don't think that, well, I'm not going to make money doing it. It doesn't matter. I'm telling you, it does not matter. Validate who you are as a human being and just do it. If it's making a video, if it's talking to somebody, whatever it is, whatever you feel in your heart, whatever you feel is the truth in your heart, know that that is the truth that you need to follow. Trust yourself and just do it. Just do it. Don't back down.
The tools will appear when the need is there. And I think that's what we're seeing with crypto starting to pump these alternative, the things that have been around for a really long time, like C60 and aloe vera and those kind of things. Yeah, those are now considered alternative. But anyway,
and Ken, can we pay with crypto on your website?
Actually, we will probably at the end of this month.
Okay,
or
good.
the beginning, or probably before Black Friday. We definitely, we have it almost all set up. It's but yeah, we will definitely you'll be able to buy in like 5 different crypto types.
That's
Very
awesome.
cool.
Litecoin
That's a
better be
great
one of them.
announcement.
I think Litecoin is one of them.
It better be. All right. Love
He
you,
wants
Ken.
to
I
stack
appreciate it.
some
Everything you do.
lights. Yeah, we really appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time to come on with us and share all of your knowledge. It's in so much more, and science, you being able to redeem the word science is encouraging when I get to talk to someone like you. So thanks again for joining us today. Everybody in the chat, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ken.
I'm just glad to be on. It was fun.
Yeah. We
Glad to have
love
you.
having you. Everybody in the chat, please give us a like and share the video before you head out. Come back and leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Also, I will be going over to Den, jumping over on Den and checking out who the top 3 comments were on this week's little TV guide post and giving out layer ownership tokens on that. So get over there, make a comment, give up some energy, and I'll post those probably final count by Sunday. So that gives everybody the weekend to kind of play around on Den Social.
Hey, the last word. You've got to subscribe to Litecoin Lisa right now on YouTube. I mean, every day she's got a video, and she's got videos twice a day now on Wednesday and other days. I mean, you've got to check her out. I mean, subscribe to her channel, give her a thumbs up, hit the notification bell. Make sure that you follow, because, it's not just happy hour. It's not just drinking all the time. No, she's got good information. And Ken, brought Ken in to kind of temper me, on happy hour, and talk about some truth and science, real science. But you've got to check out Litecoin Lisa. She works really hard. I mean, she's got really good guests on every day of the week, 4 p.m. Central Time, and then sometimes later. Subscribe to her channel, and then check out her Patreon. Subscribe to her. Throw her a little bit of that fake fiat that's going to get burned up anyway. And, you've got to support people who support humanity.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. There's the Jim Willie interview, and I'm also adding to my Patreon to add value. I'm going to start doing a monthly Zoom call for any of my Patreons, like as a group, kind of Lisa's living room, that we can just all kind of hang in a live Zoom together. I expanded my Zoom subscription so we can handle more people all at once and ask questions and talk more directly and outside of the censorship bubble. So I think that'll be a really cool experience as well. So we'll see you guys there. Oh, yesterday I made a quick announcement. If you didn't watch the video with Johnny, there was a huge breaking announcement with Veritasium, VeriDAO. I'm sorry, not Veritasium, but VeriDAO. And they filed, we filed the Amici towards the SEC versus Ripple case, and we have a significant role in that. In that, we have an unusual Amici that ours is the only one that is by we the people, as in token holders. We're not partners of Ripple. We're not an affiliate of theirs. We're not an entity or a CEO of something. We're actually the we the people that the SEC claims they protect. So.
Get your shoes off, get your grass in it, because it's about grassroots, and you got to touch that earth. You got to feel it. So go check that out. And there's a video coming out on the VeriDAO YouTube channel very soon. So see you guys there. Take care.